Welcome to CBS Sports HQ. I'm Chris Hassel. I've got Leger Douzable and Pete Prisco standing by with this week's new NFL Power Rankings. Got to give Pete some credit here. He had Eagles, Bills 1-2 before the season on their very own tier, and through 4 weeks, they are. Did you almost punch me, Leger?
No.
I know. I did see your hand.
They're the only two unbeaten teams in the league. And there you have it. We've got the Lions, who lost week 1 to Green Bay convincingly, all the way up to number 3. The Commanders fell 8 spots down to the middle. They are number 15 now. The Ravens down 5 spots to 16, dealing with a bunch of injuries. Here are your top 3 tiers. And in that middle tier, a couple of new teams here. Rams and Seahawks jumping into that championship tier. And look at the Steelers all the way up to number 9. That's a 10-spot jump after beating the Vikings in Ireland. And the Steelers, one of 4 teams on a bye this week. Let's get into it. Chris Hassel with Leger Douzable and Pete Prisco. We're starting at the top, Pete. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I want to ask you a question. I want you to answer it sincerely. Are the Eagles number 1 just because they're the defending champs, or because you actually think they're the best team in the league?
They're number 1 because they're defending champs and they're undefeated. They start there, I keep them there. If you don't lose, you're not going to drop out of there.
No matter how good the Bills look and how bad the Eagles might look.
Bills haven't looked great in some of those games either. That's part of the problem with doing the power rankings right now. What do I say every time at this time of the year?
Is anybody even any good?
Anybody any damn good?
That's what's facts,
Seriously,
though.
every one of them has flaws. Every team in this league has problems, and it's hard to figure out who's actually really good because you can't tell right now. So for that reason, the Eagles are undefeated. They haven't played great, but they stay in the top spot.
My thing is, who would you put in front of them?
Buffalo would be the only team.
I mean, but you got to look at the combined records of the teams they played. And to Pete's point, like on the offense at times, they haven't looked good, and especially on defense stopping the run. So when you look at it, the Eagles are undefeated right now. And when I look at that secondary with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, that might be the best corner tandem in football. I know people had questions where Cooper DeJean could play. Could he potentially play at safety? Could he play in the slot? Well, I love what Vic Fangio has done. He realizes he's a special player. He's putting them on the outside, and then they move him inside on third down. And Pete, they put on a clinic when it comes to tackling in space. Those two guys more specifically. I thought at parts of the first half that they single-handedly won the game because they limited what the Bucs receivers and Bucky Irving can do out in space. So, yes, they struggled in the second half on offense. I don't believe
No, they
Jalen
struggled
Hurts.
all year on offense.
But the first half it looked pretty good. It was belt to butt the first half versus that defense.
2,000-yard rushers averaging about 3 yards per carry, I think.
Yeah, he ranks 42nd out of 49 qualified running backs.
I would say Jalen Hurts and obviously Dallas Goedert with some inventiveness with the shovel pass, and then A.J. Brown. They all got involved in the first half. In the second half, I felt like they were just way too conservative. And I don't know if it was because they were up 21-3. They just did not look good the second half. They were able to hold off and get enough stops on defense to eventually go on and win that game. But, yes, it doesn't look right on offense. And when your number 1 receiver starts sending cryptic tweets, it doesn't bode well.
They don't. What are they averaging? 260 yards offense.
251 and a half.
Okay, think about that. If you would have gone before the season said 251 and a half, Jalen Carter doesn't have a sack.
Yeah.
They're not running the ball. Barkley's got three yards per carry, or whatever it is.
They've been outgained in all 4 games.
All games, yeah.
They're
4-0.
They're 4-0. That tells you that this is really a good football team underneath all of it.
Interesting. So you're going the other way. You're saying that they're actually winning close games and winning against good teams.
Good teams, too.
Yeah, correct.
Let's go to the Seahawks at number 6. They only have 1 loss. It came week 1 to the 49ers when the 49ers were more healthy than they are right now. They were 24th in your power rankings after they lost to the 49ers. Now, way up into this chasing a championship tier.
Well, and again, they haven't exactly ripped through a murderer schedule either. but I mean, they did beat Pittsburgh.
Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, they've had some good wins.
Correct.
And I love what they're doing on defense. That thing is nasty. They can rush the passer. They can cover on the back end. They do a great job of using their speed on the back end. This team is really good on defense. Sam Darnold's playing at a high level right now.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm one of those skeptics that waits for it to happen.
Shoot or drop.
Yeah. But right now they're playing really good football, and I'm impressed with what they've done.
So Pete talked about the defense, which again, you know this, Pete. They were in my top 5 when I did my top 5 defenses at the start of the season. Love what Mike McDonald has done on that side of the ball, but I want to give some love to the offensive.
With the other guy.
I know. I want to give some love to the offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, because I vividly remember last year, the first couple games of the season, New Orleans Saints, They looked like they were world beaters on offense, and then it just went away. Now, obviously, Sam Darnold has the history because they were both together in San Fran. And to Pete's point, people aren't talking about Sam Darnold enough. He's playing at an elite level, like Pro Bowl, perennial All-Pro level right now. But the thing that I love about Clint Kubiak is the different personnel groupings he uses. He uses big personnel, like 13 personnel, 1 back, 3 tight ends. But people have to match up with that on defense, so they bring linebackers in the game. But they stretch you vertically with doing that with some of their athletic tight ends. JSN, to me, is working his way into a top 5 receiver in this league. And we said it last year, even with DK Metcalf there, he had essentially become the number 1 guy. But now Sam Darnold is finding him like he is a true number 1 guy. And he's not just a slot receiver. He can play on the outside. He separates at the top of route. And even though he didn't run the fastest of 40, Pete, he runs away from guys. So this is a team going into the season, I was skeptical because of that offense. I knew the defense was going to be good. But if Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak and that offense continues to play like this, they're dark horses, not just to win the division, but to win the Super Bowl.
In a league where the big play has gone away in the passing game, they actually are making it.
Yep.
And that's something you wouldn't have expected from Seattle with Sam Darnold. At least I didn't. So kudos to him. He's playing well.
They're one of 3 teams on top of that division at 3-1, along with the Rams and the 49ers. Let's go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're not in that tier. They're in the 3rd tier here as a potential playoff team. 3-1 and a monstrous game coming up this week, Pete.
Yeah, if they win that game, they'll be in the next tier.
Against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, Monday night, that place should be jumping. They actually might sell some tickets for once in the last couple of years. But I think when you look at this team and what they've done on defense, it's impressive. Anthony Campanelli has done a great job. They've taken the ball away. 13 turnovers. They had, 9 all of last year? I mean, that's incredible for a defense that's kind of really still lacks some issues. They still have some issues, particularly on the interior of the defensive line, but he's done a great job. Devin Lloyd might be one of the most improved players from year to year I've ever seen.
Contract year.
It's a contract year, but also they made him get heavy last year, and he's lost a bunch of weight, so he's faster. But more than that, they're making it simple for him.
Yep.
It was way too complicated. He didn't know his assignments. He was getting lost at times. They've made it simple, and he's just playing football. He's playing great football. Offensively, we still haven't seen what they can do. They've run the ball. They're one of the best running. The offensive line, by the way, another improved thing. They're one of the best running teams in the league. But we haven't seen the best of that passing game yet, in large part because of the drops, in large part because I don't think Trevor Lawrence has played as well as he can. I think they're eventually going to get that going, and if they do, boy, I'll tell you what, if the passing game gets going, Brian Thomas starts making plays down the field, Travis Hunter starts making plays down the field. You saw one the other day. They're going to be a tough team to beat, and they might actually win that division.
They actually could be 4-0 if not for the drops that you alluded to earlier in Cincinnati.
Correct. On Travis Hunter.
But I want to echo what Pete was talking about with Anthony Campanelli. I mean, what he's done to change not only the mindset of those players on this team, the culture on that side of the football. They're aggressive attacking style defense. You brought up Devin Lloyd. Aluakon just finds ways to get the ball off of people. Like, he's one of the best at that peanut Tillman punch, getting the ball off of people. Jordan Lewis has been one of the best slot corners that was an amazing signing. And we saw Eric Armstead, revenge game, gets the sack fumble versus the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, this is a big game this week, but I want to give them some love for traveling from the East Coast all the way to the West. Like, that's a tough thing to do in the NFL, travel from the East to the West Coast and get a major win. And then even on special teams, Parker Washington, big punt return. So right now, this is a team that is vying for the AFC South crown, but this is a massive game. If you want to be up in that tier like Pete talked about, go beat the champions.
Since 2009.
Not the champions because they lost last year, but a team that is synonymous with winning Super Bowl.
The team that's owned the AFC and basically the NFL over the last 5 or 6 years. Another team in that same tier, that 3rd tier, that playoff tier, that has a big, maybe statement game coming up this week. It's the Broncos coming in at number 14. They didn't move from last week despite their blowout win over the Bengals, but Leger, they've got a game at Philly this week.
And this is massive, right? We'll see where Lane Johnson is when it comes to this game because that defensive line, that's a well-balanced breakfast for the Broncos. And Jake Browning learned that the hard way with Nick Bonito, John Cooper, John Franklin Myers in the middle. And Pete, the question that we have for the Broncos, and it was my question this offseason, is can Bo Nix take that second-year leap? And the first couple games, it didn't look good.
Did not.
He was missing wide-open players down the field. But I go and I look at the film from this last game. I feel like the only downfield pass he missed was maybe the R.J. Harvey one. Troy Franklin dropped that.
Yeah, he missed that throw.
That's tight. He should have caught it.
That should have been a touchdown.
But Sean Payton makes it so easy for this guy. He changes the launch point so much for him, and Bo Nix is comfortable throwing on the run. So I love it, Sean. You know your quarterback likes to do something. Continue to do it. You're able to run the ball as well as you have. And that's the thing. J.K. Dobbins was one of those underlying signings that people didn't talk about. He's the first Bronco in the last 38 games to rush over 100 yards. The combination of him and R.J. Harvey, who had nearly 100 all-purpose yards, is one of the best 1-2 tandems in all of football. It allows Bo Nix to get out on the edge on these bootlegs because you're able to run the ball so effectively. So love what they've done with Sean Payton and making it easy for Bo Nix. But that defense is the story for sure.
By the way, if Bo Nix had hit 2 or 3 of these big deep balls in a couple of those games,
they're undefeated.
They're undefeated. So he just hadn't been playing well, and you know they lead the league. They're one of the league leaders in screens, so they kind of make it easy on him. And you mentioned it. Sean Payton's a great play caller. I mean, the throw to Harvey is wide open.
You got to hit that one.
That's easy.
Yeah.
The one out of the backfield. I mean, they make it easy on him. It's going to have to be easy this week. Vic Fangio will throw a bunch of different looks at him, but that's a great matchup of Sean Payton against Vic Fangio. I love those kind of matchups. It's going to be fun to watch. But this team is, like you said, really good on defense. And if Bo Nix can play like he did against the Bengals, they're going to be a tough team down the road.
Only 2 losses came on last-second field goals by the opposing team to win it in walk-off fashion. Game day recap every Sunday at 8:20 Eastern Time with Pete, Damian Harris. Haley Sutton anchors that thing. Rand Carthon.
We got Rand on there now.
Yeah, with the former player and front office take on things. That's 8:20 Eastern Time every Sunday, recapping the early and late windows in Sunday afternoon. We'll continue with Pete Prisco's power rankings. The Ravens in a free fall. And is it going to get even worse with all the injuries, including one to Lamar Jackson? All right, into the middle of Pete Prisco's power rankings. Commanders and Ravens in the, I don't know, Jim. I don't know, Jim. What?
That's the way
a little twang on that.
There's a few added teams in that mid category, isn't there?
Only 3 in the I don't know, Jim category. The Jeff Fisher mid tier is hefty. It includes the Chicago Bears, who have won 2 straight games. All right, let's get Pete and Leger back in here. And the Ravens at 16. If you had to guess right now, Pete, would you say that 3-4 weeks from now they're going to be higher or lower than this in your power ranking?
Can you tell me if Lamar Jackson's playing or not?
No, I mean he's got the hamstring. We don't know if he's playing this week yet.
If he's not playing, they're going to be lower than that.
But we know they're without a bunch of defense.
That's what I was about to say.
If Lamar Jackson's playing, he can still win against the Texans if he's healthy and can move. But no, I definitely think when you look at him, they're definitely going to have problems if he's not playing. Cooper Rush isn't very good. And you know how I feel about backup quarterbacks. He might be able to win a game, but not against the Texans this week and if he's playing. So I do think they have major issues. Not having Matabike is big, for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And then the rest of those guys are all banged up as well.
Correct.
And, oh, by the way, the majority of them haven't played very well.
Yeah.
Roquan Smith 2 years ago was all-world, and the last couple of years he hadn't been the same guy. I mean, so I think there's a lot of problems. So I would think, Chris, to answer your question, they're going to be lower on this list.
The Rams after that.
That's what I was saying. Whether he's playing or not, like we've seen him play the last couple weeks, and they're 1-3. And you said if he's healthy, he's clearly not going to be healthy. He had a hamstring, and he came out in the third quarter. So that Texans defense will get after the offensive line for the Baltimore Ravens, and then that Rams D-line will get after the offensive line as well. The injury bug just hit them in the worst way. But even without the injury bug, like this team has been getting punished in the trenches, which we're not accustomed to seeing them. Now, they played it significantly better versus Chiefs, but we had this conversation, Pete. Chiefs don't run the football well. I mean, Xavier Worthy led them in rushing this last week on 2 end-around runs. But there is some major concerns because say you do rest Lamar and you have the bye after the Rams game. You come back, what if you're 1-5? At that scenario.
Yeah, the Steelers could be 5-1.
Looking at the Steelers' schedule, they could be 5-1. Like now, they caught them last year. I think they were down by 3 games, and they went and caught them at the end of the year because they had to play them twice, which they do have this year as well. But the way that Mike Tomlin and that opportunistic defense continue just to win games, I don't see Mike Tomlin having a losing record. So like the margin for error to potentially win the division, there is none if Lamar misses the next 2 games and they go 1-5.
This isn't about injuries either, just injuries. The injuries are.
That's what I'm saying.
They haven't been good this year. Just haven't. And I said this on our show on Sunday night. I said, I wonder how much they preach about what happens in the postseason is impacting them in the regular season, because your natural inclination is to look down the road and think, okay, well, no matter what we do in the regular season, it's all about the postseason. Next thing you know, you look up and you're in the regular season, you're 1-3, and you're struggling and not doing the things you normally do. So I think that has some impact as well.
Besides the injuries too, like Todd Monken, I want to bring him to the front of the congregation because yes, Derrick Henry has had his fumbles, but when you look at that first drive, that was Baltimore Ravens football to a T. Derrick Henry breaks off a big run, and it's just like after that first drive, they just stopped running the football. Like they weren't down significantly until the third quarter. Like why are you dropping Lamar back every single play? And then when you watch the film, Pete, Lamar has no easy throws. Why is everything way down the field? Like we talk about these franchise quarterbacks and how good they are, even Patrick Mahomes, who's all world, but even he needs some help. Even he needs some things schemed open when they don't have the subsequent playmakers. For some odd reason, Todd Monken, every route concept is 10-plus yards down the field. That takes time, which means your offensive line has to protect. And people are wondering why Lamar's back there patting the ball. Well, good Lord, everything is down the field. There's no easy throws for him. So
they also, aside from Zay Flowers, it's not exactly a great wide receiver group.
I mean, but Bateman has proven that he can win in man coverage. But, like, again, when you have everything down the field, you don't make – those are run and catch guys. Just get the ball in their hands in space.
The other part of that equation is maybe Derrick Henry's had too many carries the last couple of years.
Yeah, it baffles me that the man was averaging like 6 yards a carry, and they just stopped running
in
the
that
football.
game, but the last couple of games.
Yeah, I know, but like the philosophy has changed for them.
Why is everybody so apprehensive to say that a guy might have had too many carries and he's coming to the end?
Well, my thing is, if in the game he's showing well,
you seem a little bit too giddy to say.
Yeah, exactly.
History tells us when a guy turns that age and he has a ton of carries, they go off the cliff.
But the thing is,
I'm not saying it's happened to him yet, but it's
my
going
thing is,
to
if
happen.
he starts the game hot, you got to continue to feed him. Like they just abandoned
He had
the
one run and then he didn't get the ball anymore.
That's what I'm saying. They just abandoned the run. That ain't on him.
All right, let's jump into the 20s in Pete Prisco's power rankings, and the Dallas Cowboys coming off a tie. Fittingly, they don't move at all in your rankings after a tie.
Yeah, well, tie's kissing your sister.
Why did you say that? What is that?
I don't know what that means.
They've always said that.
I don't know what that means.
Somebody your age came up with that.
No, nobody might. That was long before I was around. I don't understand it either. I didn't have a sister, so I didn't understand it either.
You're a little bit more bullish on the Cowboys after this game than you were going in, because you said in your article that the schedule kind of opens up. You think they could maybe make a little bit of a run?
Well, I think offensively they're playing great football. Dak Prescott has been fantastic.
Leads the NFL in yards.
Mean, look at the way they threw the ball around last week, and they didn't have CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that tells you the best thing about them is the offensive line starting to get together. And they got injuries on.
I would say 2 guys were out.
And they're still starting to come together.
Yeah.
That's a really good sign for the Cowboys. Look, Dak Prescott takes the field every single week knowing he's going to have to score points. And he's doing it because our defense still is not very good. So I'm impressed with what he's done. I'm impressed with what the offensive line's done. Look, George Pickens actually showed up in a big game. That was nice to see, too. So they're going to score points. I just worry about the defense still.
Contract year.
Huh?
Pickens, contract year.
Yeah, there you go.
That graphic says it all right there, right? 10 games of 300-plus yards and 3 passing touchdowns, most in Cowboys history. And to your point, he's playing at an MVP level right now. But it's just unfortunate that the defense hasn't helped them out. Now, they got 1 turnover in that game, which kind of swung the game in their favor. James Houston with the sack fumble. But what I love, that was a masterclass by Brian Schottenheimer on offense. I love how they used big personnel groupings. They had extra offensive linemen in the game. And Javonte Williams ran with purpose. He looks like the guy that we touted coming out of North Carolina when he was running really well with the Denver Broncos before the knee injury. The thing that stood apart to me was, Pete, they stayed ahead of the chains. They were never in 3rd and long to allow Micah Parsons to come off the edge. And even when he did, when the first read was open, Dak was taking it. So it didn't matter if Michael Parsons was winning. So, again, a masterclass by a defense. A lot of people touted as maybe the best defense in football. They embarrassed that Green Bay. I saw tongues hanging out from the defenders. I saw guys wanting to lay it down. Like Edrin Cooper is an all-world player. That offensive line was getting to him at the second level, and he wasn't a factor in that game at all. So shout out to Brian Schottenheimer, because that was an amazing call in the game versus the Packers the other day.
And you know what? There was a big misconception about Schottenheimer going into the season. Well, why did he pick him? Can he do it? The guy's been around coaching his entire life. His dad was one of the all-time best coaches in this league. And so he knows what it takes, and he's a good dude, and guys respect him. I mean, that's all you – if you get the respect of the locker room and you know how to call plays, you're going to usually have a good success. And he's done a nice job. By the way, part of Dak Prescott probably takes the field going, I'm okay with the way we're playing on defense.
Get to
You get to get them yards up, huh? Get them yards up.
I like spinning that ball around down the
No
field.
Cowboys quarterback has ever led the league in passing yards, but Dak Prescott on base.
He's on his way this year.
NFL Today Plus, not on the road this week. They were in Kansas City last week. I think they're going to be there for the Chiefs-Bills game in a few weeks. Amanda Guerra, Matt Ryan, Antonio Pierce, and Kyle Long. Poor Kyle. He's so tall, he can't even fit his whole head.
Cut him out the promo, huh?
Matt Ryan's a tall guy, and Kyle just dwarfs him.
They made sure to get Matt's hair on there, but since Kyle doesn't have any, they can cut that bald thing right off. Sunday at 10 a.m. All right, to the bottom of the power rankings next, and that's where we're going to find teams like the Jets, winless and without a takeaway this season. All right, come on, we're going to the basement. Bottom of Pete Prisco's power rankings. You got your down bads. That includes the Bengals after getting blown out again with Jake Browning. And the dumpster fire has added a few, including the Panthers. They're back after giving up 42 points to the Patriots. Pete Prisco is the one who puts these power rankings together. We also have Leger Douzable. I'm Chris Hassel. We're going to zero in on number 27. The Giants, who you have the good and you have the bad. And Jackson Dart was really good, but you lose Malik Neighbors for the season. Really good, relatively speaking,
Really
for his
good.
first start against an unbeaten
really
team.
good on the opening drive when they scripted it for him, and then he was just okay the rest of the game. He wasn't awful, and he wasn't Russell Wilson. That's too positive.
Oh, my goodness. Goodness
and he
gracious.
can move. He brought juice to the team. I give him all the credit in the world.
Yes.
He did. He can move around. He can do things with his legs, and they seem to genuinely respond to him, which the other guy they didn't respond to, like the last three teams. But the bottom line is, I think you got to see what he can do now when you go out on the road. He's got his first road start against the Saints, and you don't have Neighbors. And not having Neighbors is enormous for that offense. So it's going to be a challenge for him. But yes, he brought juice to a team that needed it.
That note is specifically for you, Pete. First Giants quarterback to win against the Chargers since our boy Danny Cannell in
And
98.
we talked about that the other night. Danny came on with us on Sunday night. We
And
showed
Pete,
his touchdown
Pete was
pass.
quick to point out he also threw an interception.
He
in that
did.
game.
I wanted to see, we showed the touchdown. I wanted to see
See the interception? I love what I saw from Jackson Dart. Now, I hear what you're talking about. He uses mobility really well. But the biggest thing for me is he was money on the money down. Third down has. And it wasn't just scrambling. There was times he found Theo Johnson in the middle field a couple times to really bleed out that clock at the end of the game. I always like to look at young quarterbacks and how poised they are on the money down. And he seems like he's never erratic or flustered by anything, right? Used his mobility really well. You talked about how they scripted him, draw play on the first drive to get into the end zone. But without Malik Neighbors, for him to hold it together, to pick up some crucial first downs, to bleed some more clock, I thought that was a great showing for your first time out there, again, against an undefeated Chargers team, who a lot of people were saying was one of the better defenses in all of football. Now that we've given Jackson Dart some love, let's go to where it really matters, Pete. That defensive line. Because we have been waiting, Pete. We have been waiting for this defensive line to take over games. I touted them as the best defensive line in football going into the season, and they showed it on Sunday. I mean, Abdul Carter, 5 quarterback hits, 12 quarterback hits in the entire game. Herbert was under duress the entire time, right? We saw sacks from Thibodeau,
now,
Burns.
Alt went out, so that matters.
I'm just saying, though, but they took, but you beat who's in front of you.
Right.
You're supposed to take over games. And even Sexy Dexy, even though he didn't get to the quarterback, tips the ball up, gets a big interception, which leads to points. So to me, if this defense, which is going to have to be defensive-led, especially with a young quarterback, if they can continue to play like this, they could maybe make some – I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but with Jackson Dart, like you said, and the energy that he brings, they'll make games real competitive down the stretch.
No question. He's brought some energy, no doubt.
Now to the other side of that stadium.
Do we got to go there?
Leger's New York Jets, who come in at number 30 and 0-4 without a single takeaway in any of those 4 games.
Let me get my single. So there's a saying that goes with the Jets that fans really hate. Same old Jets. Aaron Glenn spoke about it, and he's like, he dispelled it. These are not the same old Jets. I'm tired of hearing that. It's not the same old Jets. And I have a lot of love for Aaron Glenn. You're right, it's not the same old Jets. They're worse. They are really worse.
Jeez.
And when you look at it, right, you talk about discipline. That was his thing he preached all offseason. 14 penalties, 14 penalties, 12 were accepted. A lot of those pre-snap penalties. And when you have pre-snap penalties, that shows a lack of mental focus, Pete, and also a lack of mental toughness. I think tenor hamstring at times with the shifts in motions make it a little bit too difficult. Sometimes you just got to line up and play, right? And then the post-snap penalties. Like, that's where the undisciplinedness where lack of discipline shows. John Simpson, right? You're down 14. Why are you pancaking a dude and jumping on him after an explosive play? Now the ball gets knocked back, takes you out of the low red zone, and you have to settle for 3, and now there's only 7 minutes on the clock. Like, those are things you can't do and win football games. You also talked about the turnovers, right? I believe they lead the NFL in turnovers in regards to fumbles. Your returner on the opening return in the second half fumbles the football, right? And you talked about taking care of the football. The ball means everything. But then you put him back in the game, and he fair catches it at the 2-yard line. In middle school, high school, they teach you, put your heels at the 5-yard line, and if you go back
to be the 10.
Even the
They
10,
ruined that
exactly. Put your heels at the 5 or 10, and if you go backwards, you let the ball bounce.
Right.
Like, you cannot make those mistakes because they don't have the talent to overcome them. So, yes, it's not the same old Jets. Right now, it's currently worse, and I know Pete's going to speak about this. The tackling has been abysmal.
They're the worst tackling team in the league. They've missed more tackles than any team in the league. They're horrible at tackling. That's, like we talked about, that's want to. That's desire.
Yeah.
And so you're right. We heard about Aaron Glenn, the disciplinarian. He's going to take on the personality of him as the player. Not one guy on that defense is taking on Aaron Glenn's personality as a player. They don't tackle. The effort isn't great. They get a ton of stupid penalties, and they're not very good on defense. And we thought that would be the calling card.
Yeah.
Which side of the ball has played better this year?
The offense, for
The
sure.
offense has been better.
Yeah.
We thought that would be an issue. So I look firmly at the coach. This is on Aaron Glenn. You got to fix this. It's time right now to fix this.
And the thing that worries me, because Aaron Glenn got to ask this question, do you worry about players having that mentality like, here we go again? Right? And the reason why I bring that up is because Sauce Gardner was asked the question, and he said, as far as him getting that, holding call or DPI, he was like, I feel like when you're a losing team, those calls go against you. He's like, I watch other teams, and they don't get those calls against them. So to me, that lets you know right there that it's already seeping into the player's mind. So to your point, it's on Aaron Glenn to change that mentality. And until you do, people will continue to say, you're the same old Jets.
But worse.
But worse right now.
But not the worst. Not the worst. The Saints are at the bottom of Pete's power rankings, and then right above them, the Tennessee Titans, 0-4 under Cam Ward. And we saw head coach Callahan kind of start to lose his cool a little bit in a press conference. And Cam Ward, I guess I'll give him credit. He kind of tells it like it is after that 4th loss last week.
I mean, if we keeping the buck right now, we ass. So we 0-4. We have this one. We got nothing to lose. We dropped a quarter of our games, and we've yet to do anything. So we have to lock in, especially myself on the offensive line, from the defensive line, from the special teams to all 3 faces. We have to play together. We have not played together this year yet, and that's just something that we want to preach about it every day. Every day we got to do better, and we're doing that. But it has to show up on Sundays. It hasn't showed up yet, but it got to show up next week.
All right, Leger, you're a veteran on that team. Do you like your rookie quarterback coming out and saying that?
Yeah, it means he cares. And if you're Brian Callahan, you probably don't like it because it means the message is falling on deaf ears because he talked about it. We have to lock in all 3 phases. We haven't played together as a team. It's not showing up on Sunday. We're trying to do the work throughout the week. So does that mean the message isn't getting home for the players? And if you're Brian Callahan, you're already in a shaky situation going into the season. You decide to make the change where you take away play calling from yourself. You don't give it to the offensive coordinator. You give it to Bo Hardegree, who's the quarterback coach, and you get blanketed. You don't score 1 point. So if you're ownership, you're looking at this, you're not getting rid of the #1 overall pick. If changes come, let's not forget, Mike Borgonzi is the GM that's there now. He wasn't the guy that hired him. Rand Carthen hired Brian Callahan. So this isn't his coach. So if you're Brian Callahan, you got to change something. Something has to happen quick for this Tennessee Titans team.
If they get blown out this week, I think they might make a change. And the reason I say that is, if I'm not mistaken, the following week they play Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, and that's your former coach coming back. You're not going to sit there and bring that coach out in that scenario. So if they get blown out this week, I think they might make a change. And when coaches start changing play callers after 4 weeks, 3 weeks,
it's a problem.
It's a problem. You have an issue. And by the way, Cam Ward's been part of the issue too. He hadn't played very well. And in fairness to him, everything around them works against them.
Correct.
The offensive line isn't very good. The wide receivers drop balls.
Yep.
They don't run the ball. So everything's working against them. But he hadn't played very well. So I love the fact that he's accountable and he's holding people accountable. That's who he is. He shows up there at 5:30 in the morning. They have to tell him to get out of there or get some sleep. And he works at it, he lives by it, and he loves it. So he does have that going for him. But he needs to play better too.
Keeping it a buck. Keeping it at 100, Pete. But at number 31 in Pete's power rankings. You can find the full list and the full article with an in-depth dive on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were big risers this week, up 10 spots at CBSSports.com. Here's our CBS schedule this Sunday. The Titans are on CBS at 4:05 Eastern against the Cardinals in Arizona. The headliner in that late window, Bucs-Seahawks, a matchup of 3-1 teams, and the early slate highlighted by the Broncos at the unbeaten Eagles.